Good morning, church. Thank you, Carl. Everything you do is a prayer for me. So I think just about everyone knows that I am Diane Gunderson, and I am your Christ Church's lay delegate to the California, Nevada annual conference session every summer. I found out that much like educators, the annual conference loves really long, complicated, very descriptive, names for all of their committees and group work. And they use far fewer acronyms, though. So I was like, wow. Anyway, so I think most of you know that annual conference is there, really officially to do the business of the conference, right? Voting members approve the budget and all kinds of recommendations come forth for vote and reports. There wasn't really anything that directly impacts Christ Church. I'm not going to go too much into that. That's why I'm there, so that I can sift through those things. And I had a lot of help this year. I sat with Gail the first day and the lay delegates from First Church to help me through that, as this was my first in person. But then, of course, also the bishop gives all of the clergy their appointments for the following year, and I have some news on that for you later. And obviously, clergy is also ordained at this event, which was a really big learning for me. I just thought new pastors stood up and got ordained, and no, they ordain elders and deacons and deaconesses. And luckily, Lindsay explained that all to me. So if you need info, you can ask her. But most important, what I came away with was this, on paper, that's what it's for, but what really happens is you hear and are inspired and empowered by all of the amazing work and ministries that's going on all over the conference. And then you're sent forth to continue that work and start new work. And that's really more of what I'm going to share with you. If you want to see the 75-page, document of reports, I'm happy to share that with you. So the theme for this year's annual conference was Let Love Be. And that can be a sentence, let love be. It can be a prayer. It can also be a sentence starter, as we say in education, right? Let love be genuine. Let love be radical. Let be love, for everyone. I know we just heard the scripture, but I wanted to just read just two verses. So the theme of let love be is based in Romans chapter 12. And we heard a lot about very few scriptures. We had some Bible scholars do some things that was well over my head. But I wanted to share this with you where you see that phrase, let love be. Let love be genuine. Hate what is evil. Hold fast to what is good. Love one another with mutual affection. Outdo one another in showing honor. I just wanted to center us with that. At annual conference, there is a time to remember and celebrate the lives of clergy and clergy spouses who have died over the last year. And a booklet is made with a picture and biographical information. And this year, the families of those clergy and clergy spouses were asked to complete that sentence as they thought their loved one would have. Let love be. And so I wanted to share with you a few of those. Let love be shown, shared, and celebrated. Can we have the next click, Stan? Thanks. Let love be unconditional, free-flowing, and all-encompassing. Let love be authentic and always reflecting God's own love. Let love be what rules the world. Now it's going to be your turn to complete that sentence starter. We'll do a sort of Pentecostal words and language up at once. I'll start the sentence, and if you think of a word right now, and we'll all say our word. Let love be. Amen. At annual conference, we heard a number of times from our conference lay leader, Michelle Pope. I suspect many of you may have had an opportunity to hear her or interact with her. If you haven't, and that opportunity comes up, take it. Take it. She is inspiring, empowering, praise-filled, passionate, and it's just like I'm just like ready to stand. Yes, Michelle, whatever you want me to do. She's amazing, and we're so lucky that she is our lay leader. And I pulled a couple quotes. Thank goodness for the internet, because I did pull some quotes that I noted and then pulled out of from the website. But one of the things that she said on the first day was, "Why are we here? We are a family created to do something magnificent. Get on the love train." I didn't do that anywhere near as well as she did, but that was very inspiring. So part of annual conference, as I said, was to celebrate and see the work of the conference in action. And so I cannot believe how many things are going on, task forces and committees and groups. I pulled out just 4 that I felt really, really embodied various aspects of Let Love Be, right? So first of all, the offering for conference was for Tongan relief, which is via UMCOR. I'm sure you remember that in January, there's a huge volcanic explosion on the island of Tonga. They were cut off from the world for some time and, are still recovering from that. And so we heard about the process, what had happened as people were able to get in touch, all of the people who provided resources and packed them and shipped them and got them there. And it was really inspiring to see that kind of love, and also to know that our UMCOR initiatives are not one and done, right? They're still there. So let love be action. We learned about the lay missioner training to support California, Nevada Latino communities. There's another one of those titles. This is a lay training. More than 35 people, which is 2 times bigger than any other class or group across the denomination, have completed this bilingual training. And they're empowered with tools and sort of theological bases and stuff to support Latino members of our churches and our communities. 12 of the participants of those 35 were from various ethnic groups that demonstrate, quote, "We are in a ministry together. Que amor sea bilingüe y multilingüe." And then we also heard from San Francisco, an initiative called the Ubuntu Initiative. Ubuntu means I am because you are. And all of the Sacramento churches came together in that spirit of I am because you are, and did all kinds of things in the San Francisco community. So among them, they filled and distributed lunches and health kits, over 500 to the unsheltered. They had a blood drive. They apparently cleaned up many, many blocks on the street around Grace United Methodist Church, and they had T-shirts. So I like that. I always like the groups that have T-shirts. But, that was also a show of this is who we are, and we're here. So let love be compassion. And then we heard from Reverend Izzy Alvaran. Is that right? He's from the Philippines, and he is with our conference, and I think some others as well, working with the Reconciling Ministry Network. And so at first he told us how 85 churches in our conference are part of the network. Yay, good. And then I didn't get the number, but then he told us how many churches total we have. And he said, we have a little work to do. But I can't recreate what he said, but his message was really moving and really powerful. So let love be for all. One thing that I was really, really amazed at, frankly, was the diversity I saw. Even when I was online, I saw that, but I only saw who was speaking. Now I was in a room full of people. And being in person to see all of that is really powerful. And when we honored the clergy and spouses who had died, most of those folks probably had started their ministry in the 50s, 60s. So they had lived very long lives, and there was a striking difference between who we were honoring in memory and who was there. And as a person who works in an institution such as education, which the church really is, I know full and well that doesn't just happen. That's an intentional act. I was never involved with the conference at that level, but I know that that was intentional and probably was painful in some places, but to have that happen is really incredible. And I'm not sure you can read it, but that's just a little chart, I pulled out of some of those wonderful reports that, I stay up all night reading and studying, but it's about, racial, ethnic diversity in our conference. And so the one I have an arrow to, so this is the number of total positions filled on all kinds of boards, agencies, commissions, everything across the district. So how many of those are filled by racially ethnic people? In 2018, 43% of them, and in 2022, 58% of them. And I suspect that will continue. So I just really celebrate that work of the conference to really be sure that we reflect the communities that we live in. And I'm going to turn it over to Gail now on that note. She's going to talk to you about one of the workshops that she attended.
Thank you, Diane. That was a wonderful summary. I even learned some things. Thank you, because I didn't stay the whole time. As a retiree, I need to be there, but most of what I enjoy most is the connection with colleagues and friends from across the conference, and to be able to go to like the retiree luncheon and to recognize those who have retired also. And they're able, throughout the conference, they do a short little video snippet of some of the things that person wants to pass on to other clergy and other lay people there in terms of their advice, but also in terms of some of the things that have been meaningful to them in their ministry. They only have a short period of time to do that for their sometimes 40 years of ministry, but it's also a very meaningful part of conference for me. One of the workshops, though, that they offered that John and I were able to go to was called Advocacy Across Faith, Race, and Culture. And it was specifically about bystander intervention training. The presenter was Osama Kamel. He's the care chair or presenter from, and I had it written down, from the Council of American Islamic Relations Rights. And what he did in just an hour was a very quick introduction to how to be helpful as a bystander if you see some racist things going on, if you see some bullying going on, how you can be one of those that intervenes. I'm just going to give you just the bullet points of that, but I think I had mentioned to Lindsay, it might be really helpful to have someone like him come and do something for the whole circuit, because all of us may be in a position sometime of witnessing something happening that is not right, and what do you do? So some of the points he made was, if you notice that, look around, assess what the situation is, be aware of what's happening, who is around, and then try to get others involved. So that means, okay, I see this happening, I see that you're noticing also, and I might kind of point to you or even make a comment to you of, can you stand and be aware of what's going on? And then give them directions. At that point, you're not actually saying, call 911, because the next step is you go introduce yourself to the person that's being bullied or harassed or in danger of some kind of harm, maybe not physical, but just verbal even. So introduce yourself and quietly explain that you saw what happened. And would that person like some support? And then ask for permission before doing anything. Like, if you want to ask, would it be okay if I have somebody call 911? Or would it be okay if I just sit here with you for a little bit? And the whole time you're doing that, you're ignoring the attacker. You're not looking at the attacker. You're not engaging the attacker. You're just looking at the person that's being harassed. Be aware of that person's location, and then kind of look around and see where the exit routes are. If you're in a building, they talked a lot about being on a train or a bus. That may not be apply to us as much, but say it's in this room. Where are the exits? Be aware so that then you might want to ask the person being bullied, would you like to leave with me? And then you go and you stay then with that targeted person to make sure that they can get to a place of safety and whatever they need at that point. It was just really helpful. I mean, they did some little role playing, they did some scenarios where that might happen. And again, because this was coming out of the American Islamic relations, that was created at the height of when Islamic persons were being targeted. And now we know Asian people are being targeted. LGBTQ people are definitely going to be targeted even more than they have been in the past, I would assume. And it just, the number of possibilities are out there. So it was a wonderful way to be a part of the conference, but actually come home with some skills at the same time. So thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Gail. I didn't get to go to that, so I'm really excited to hear about that.
Can I say one more thing? Yeah. Are you going to talk about worship? Worship. I just wanted to mention the comment about worship because Lindsay, our pastor, was the creator, the organizer, the chair of that worship team. And I have had that responsibility in the past. It's a huge job. I do appreciate most of all the worship services at conference.
Thank you, Gail. Thank you. Thank you, Lindsay. It was really incredible music. The background and the backdrop and the environment was simple but beautiful and could be changed to sort of joyful or contemplative and all the messages. So thank you. Yes, and thank you, Gail, for bringing that in. I think I made you a little nervous earlier. I tried. I didn't want you to fall asleep. Of course, I think it was not unexpected that Lindsay was indeed appointed to continue here at Christ Church 3/4 time. Yay! And also, of course, she'll also continue with her quarter time in the college ministry at SSU. And I'm really excited about that. I hope we can, as a church, can really be present and participating and supportive of wherever that leads you, Lindsay. And we're really happy to have you. All right. And also a big part and really moving for me and inspiring was the ordination. So on Sunday morning, clergy new to this clergy post they were taking were ordained. It was moving to witness that commitment and to witness, clergy kneeling and taking on the blessing for this commitment they were making in their work, their life, the church. And the conference was presided over, thank you, by our interim bishop, Sally Dick. She came on, as I think many know, that Bishop Carcagno was placed on a leave for a time, and I think, Lindsay, you'll have some more to share about that. But so she presided. I hear the word bishop, and I've had very limited experience, but I really expected very solemn, and we're doing this, and now we're doing this. And maybe it's not always like that, but I found Bishop Dick to be, she certainly was solemn and where appropriate, but she also presided with a light hand and a light heart, very down to earth, very showed us who she was, and it was wonderful. But her message as part of the ordination service was moving and fantastic, and I would never attempt to recreate that. But I want to share 2 takeaways for me from that. The big one was that we are all called to service for all people, that ministries for everyone, everywhere. And she told a story of a neonatal nurse who'd spent, decades of her career working in the neonatal unit, which, any nursing is very personal, but also that wasn't just taking care of babies, right? That was, supporting the families, educating the families, taking care of the families. And when she retired, she went to her pastor and said, now that I'm retired, I can finally help with the ministries of the church. And I've joined the Prayer Shawl ministry. And the pastor, I don't remember Bishop Dick's exact words, but basically the pastor was shocked and maybe a little bit horrified that nowhere in this woman's life had anyone said, hey, you are in ministry in your work. That is ministry. The way you are with families, the way you guide them, the way you love them, the way you go through the process with them is ministry. And that really hit me right between the eyes. I've never really thought of my work in that way. I certainly think of it as service, but not connected to ministry, not connected to, I'm a follower of God, a believer in God, and follower of Jesus, but I just didn't see it that way. So that was really wonderful. And this, I definitely can't capture this, so I pulled some quotes off of the website, but she also used a metaphor that was then repeated over and over for the rest of conference. And she said, this is quote, "Ministry has some things in common with donkeys." And she said, "Play with me here." And that was the opening part of this sermon, which was entitled "Riding the Donkey." Bishop Dick went on to describe the many times donkeys were ridden in the Bible, including Jesus riding into Jerusalem. And she said, "The donkey is the metaphor for following the direction of God. Riding the donkey is for everyone who wants to follow Jesus. All are called to the service of all. Ride the donkey." And that's what we heard over and over from people afterwards, ride the donkey. It was wonderful. I'm going to sort of switch gears, but not on the theme here, because I put up there what she said was all are called to service of all. And I had this presentation prepared, and then this weekend I went to a retreat. And I had to add something about it. I went to a retreat, which was sort of the beginning or the kickoff of a journey I'm going to go through called the Changemaker Church Movement. And I suspect you're going to hear about it a lot from me. You're going to hear from me. I'm going to, 4 Sundays from now, you're going to say, "How are you?" And I'll say, "Well, let me tell you what's happening." So this group, the Changemaker Church Movement, actually Lindsay and Christy participated last year. So I'm sort of the second, Christ Church person to come through. This weekend was transformative and empowering. And I am not very far along, so my elevator speech this is the first iteration of my elevator speech, and it will develop. But the Changemaker movement is going to shift the way I think about ministry and service in the world. And one of the ways, the main way it's shifting it is that normally I look around, I say, yeah, I'm moved by that, I'm going to go serve over there. And then I go serve over there. And I have an idea about what that's going to look like. The Changemaker is shifting into, I'm going to start here. I'm going to start with the nudges that I'm feeling for God, with the skills that I know I have, the strengths that I know I have. And I'm going to listen to that nudge without necessarily having an endpoint, right? So I still might be that place over there, right? It still might be whatever, homelessness. But I'm going to go into it from a place of what am I being called to do in my ministry in that area? And how can my work plant some seeds so that that change moves on? It's really exciting. It was formed out of the Los Altos United Methodist Church. They may have a broader name just within their church, and has grown. And we heard some incredible stories of people who started off like, I don't know. And now, 5-6 years later, they are affecting huge changes in their communities and their world. So be ready to hear a little bit more about that. All right, in closing, I would like to close with a prayer. This is one part I changed from the Reverend Kathy McShane, who is the founder of the Changemaker movement. I think this really aligns beautifully with the message that came out of annual conference as well. So please pray with me. May God bless you, keep you, be gracious to you. May God give you grace never to sell yourself or God short. Grace to risk something big for something good. Grace to remember that the world is now too dangerous for anything but the truth, and too small for anything but love. So may God take your mind and think through it. May God take your lips and speak through them. May God take your hands and do good with them. May God take your heart and set it on fire. And let love be. Amen.